Happy Sunday to you, everybody. Hope you're having a great weekend. Hope you're having a great summer, too. If you took a vacation, hope it's a great one. If you still got vacation coming up, well, most of us are jealous of you. All right, so we're back. Media days are here. That just means a few short weeks until football season starts. I think it was seven or 8 weeks till the first Saturday. So we're going to be going over media days. We're going to start Big 12, have theirs this week. SEC's this upcoming week, starting tomorrow. And we'll get the schedule for the other ones down at the end of this. But we're going to go over the Big 12 ones first. Got a lot of news here. A lot of news. Not so great news. A lot of, I don't know, I guess some of it's sad. Yeah, but anyway, we're going to go over that. Before we start, hit the subscribe button down there, wherever it is, so you don't miss anything. Listen to it at work, home, whatever, on your way to work, whatever. All right, so let's get started with some news. I think the big news that we had this last week, Northwestern fires head coach Pat Fitzgerald over hazing. I saw a few things about it. It involved nude players, and who knows what the hell they were doing. I'm sure eventually it'll come out somehow. But yeah, and the whole weird thing about this, Northwestern hired an attorney to investigate all this. And so she did. And her conclusions were that Pat Fitzgerald did not know about this stuff. How much did he know? Did he know it all? Who knows? We may never find that out. So Northwestern suspends him for 2 weeks. And that was, I believe, not this past Friday, but the Friday before. Well, something happened in those next 2 days, because by Sunday he was fired. Big Ten Network had a special on it, talking about it, going over it Sunday night. I watched that. But so my question is, what happened in those 2 days? Because the attorney didn't find Pat Fitzgerald knew anything about it, Pat Fitzgerald put out a statement, and he's got a lawyer. So we're going to see what happens there. Yeah, but the big thing is, what in those 2 days changed Northwestern's mind just to fire him? Could have been, hey, this is the opportunity we got. We haven't been doing good these last 2 seasons. I can understand that a little bit, but everybody has a down season. I mean, you can't just go on full strong. So, I don't know. Maybe that was the reason. That was it. Maybe they've been looking for a new coach the last couple of years, and this was their opportunity. Anyway, defensive coordinator David Braun, he's going to be the intern coach there at Northwestern this upcoming season. And the thing about Northwestern is, remember, for years, they were the bottom of the Big Ten. Then Gary Barnett came in, took them to the Rose Bowl back in the 90s. Pat Fitzgerald actually played on that team. They started having good years after that, not consistently, probably until Pat Fitzgerald took over and started taking them to bowl games. And, hey, won 2 Big West titles. Winningest coach, though. He was the winningest coach in Northwestern history, which is kind of crazy when you think about the coaches they had. I mean, like we said, Gary Barnett, he took them to the Rose Bowl back in the 90s. Ara Parseghian, he was there. I think he was only there for a few years, but still, Pat Fitzgerald, the winningest coach in Northwestern history, was let go. Now, where does Northwestern go? Sure, you could just probably get any coordinator or that you wanted that wants to be a head coach. But remember, Northwestern, that's a private school. You're going to need somebody who knows how to recruit for a private school, knows how to win at a private school. David Shaw, I know he had a couple bad years here at Stanford recently, but he won there a lot at Stanford. So did Tyrone Willingham. He won there too. I don't know what Tyrone's doing these days. I haven't heard, but and there's talk of a Tulane coach. What's his name? Willie Geist, I think is his name. Talk about maybe interviewing him. But you're probably gonna have to get a coach that knows how to win at a private school. Not just anybody can do it. I mean, we all know private school, the admissions and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, they're going to be looking for a new head coach. What Pat Fitzgerald does he sue the school? Does he just move on and coach somewhere else? Who knows? Well, I guess we'll find out. Tennessee, remember all the turmoil under Jeremy Pruitt a few years ago? They must vacate wins from 2019 and 2020, which is only 11 wins anyway. And they paid $8 million to keep them from being banned from postseason, which Coach Josh Heupel said that's a big relief. So all kinds of crazy stuff going there under Jeremy Pruitt, recruiting violations. I think I've heard in the past that his wife was involved somehow. I don't know, buying player stuff or something. I don't know. But anyway, yeah, vacated 11 wins, the whole vacating wins thing to me is kind of dumb. I mean, we all watch, whether it's football or basketball, we've all watched those games. We know who won. So just to vacate them is stupid. I've always thought some other penalties should be efficient, but I don't know. That's why I'm sitting here and not on the board of the NCAA. But yeah, $8 million to avoid the postseason ban they paid, and Josh Heupel was very happy about that. Hey, CW Network. You ever watch the CW Network? I watch a few things on it. Well, they have teamed up with the ACC, and they will have 50 football and basketball games on this fall on the CW Network. Men's and women's basketball, they will have double hitters on the CW Network. Men's on Saturday, women's basketball double hitter on Sunday. 13 football games and 28 basketball games will air on the CW Network. So that's cool. Another channel for football and basketball games. Remember the whole Georgia incident was last January, February, the wreck. A couple people got killed, a player and a staffer and all that, and then all kinds of stuff involving Jalen Carter. Well, Victoria Bowles, one of the girls that was in the car wreck that survived, former UGA staffer, I'm guessing she doesn't work there anymore. She was the one that survived the wreck that killed outside lineman Devin Willock and recruiting analysis Chandler LaCroix. She's filed a lawsuit against the University of Georgia Athletic Association and former defensive lineman Jalen Carter. Lawsuit claims UGA Athletic Association was negligent and made false claims about details of the incident, and also that Carter left the scene without talking to law enforcement. So yeah, she's put out a lawsuit there. I guess we'll find out over the coming months what happens with that. Big 12 Deputy Commissioner this week at Media Days, talking to Reporter says, Tim Weiser is his name, Texas leaving the Big 12 for the SEC wasn't financial. They would rather get beat by Alabama and Florida instead of Kansas State and Iowa State. So that's what he says. He says it's all a matter. He wants to get they want to get beat by good teams instead of just mediocre to good teams. So, but Kansas State's good. Iowa State's always good, except this last year or so. But those are good teams. K-State, they won the Big 12. Iowa State has made a push for it every year, except last year. But it's hard to play there in Ames, Iowa. That's it is. A lot of teams go there and lose that shouldn't, but they just do. So yeah, he says that's why Texas is leaving. He didn't say anything about Oklahoma, but Greg Sankey, SEC Commissioner, agrees to a contract extension. He will remain SEC Commissioner through 2028. NCAA says it has discussed possible expansion of the NCAA tournament, but nothing is imminent yet. They're talking about they may do it, may not. We'll see. Dick Vitale, man. Remember Dick Vitale beat cancer last year? Well, now he's got vocal cord cancer. So he's going through all that stuff again. Prayers to your brother, man. You can do it. You beat it once, you can beat it again. You'll get through it, man. We're all hoping and wishing well for you, man. You'll do it. Former West Virginia basketball coach Bob Huggins, remember him? Made some controversial comments on a Cincinnati radio station. Then a month later or so, gets a DUI. Says he never submitted a resignation letter to the school, and therefore he should still be employed by West Virginia. And he's threatening a lawsuit. I don't know what he expects to gain out of that, but, I don't know. It is what it is. Hey, there's a report out there that says San Diego State, they plan to stick with the Mountain West Conference. Guess they couldn't find a better date. Couldn't find another better way to spend a Saturday night with somebody else. Nobody wanted to spend it with them. So they said, yeah, I guess we'll stay. So, well, whatever. All right, Big 12 Media Days. We're just going to go over a few things each coach has said that were kind of interesting. Before we start, I don't know if you saw the Big 12 Media Days, but I think you can watch it online too, but I watch it on TV. And I got to say, their coverage of the Media Days on TV sucks. I've completely forgot about this. Same thing happened last year. I completely forgot about it until I started watching it again this year. But yeah, their coverage, at least on TV, sucks. Um, it seems like all about ESPN. They have a desk there with Andre Ware's on it, Dusty, I forget his last name, and the girl who hosts, I don't remember her name. But that's the only time you hear the coaches. When those three are talking to the coach, and it's about, what, 15 minutes maybe 20 minutes. And then they go up there on stage and answer questions from all the other newspapers, magazines, online sporting sites, and just like regular media days from other conferences do. But you don't get to see that. Well, you see it on TV, you see them in the background, but the ESPN is too busy talking to another coach, which kind of sucks because that's why I like media days. They go, the SEC and Big Ten, they do it right. Coaches go to the desk, they talk to the coaches, and you get to watch them up there on stage when other media outlets are asking them questions. Not with Big 12. At least, like I said, on TV, maybe online, they do it. You can watch the entirety online. But on TV, no. All you get is the ESPN people. And the girl down there on the field, she asked a couple questions to one of the players. I forget who it's from or where he played. But she gets into asking about his jewelry. What the hell's that got to do with football? Season's starting in a few weeks, come on. So, yeah, Big 12, go watch the SEC Media Days this week and watch the Big 10 next week and see how it's done. Because your media days really suck. So, anyway, out of my system. Let's get on with it. Big 12 commissioner on day one says, first of all, he praised the teams in all sports. Called Texas and Oklahoma's leaving a win-win for all parties involved, which I don't understand that. I don't see how that could be a win for the Big 12 for having Texas and Oklahoma leaving. I really don't. And not so sure it's a good thing for them to be joining the SEC because I'm willing to bet half those teams in the SEC can beat Texas and Oklahoma right now. So I don't know. Win-win. I don't know where he gets that from. Anyway, he bragged that the conference. He bragged, actually on stage, conference gained 100,000 followers on social media. Well, okay. All right. In the last year. So, okay. Planning on playing football and basketball games in Mexico, which I'm not a big fan of going to other countries to play your sports. Teams lose a home game, and I just always thought that was dumb. A lot of neutral site games I don't agree with either, because like I said, you're taking a home game away from a team each year, so I don't know. Big 12 championship game will stay at Jerry's World until 2030, which I think that sucks too. Yeah, it's a great stadium. It should be there. But I remember the early days of the Big 12, it used to go around. I mean, it came here to Houston, went to San Antonio. I went and saw it in San Antonio, Dallas, Kansas City, somewhere else too. Maybe in Indy, maybe not. But they used to revolve it around. Or Texas Stadium, at the old Texas Stadium before Jerry's World was built. But, I mean, yeah, that sucks. I think all championship games should be travel around to different cities, but not staying at Jerry's World till 2030. So, feel like Jerry Jones is another reason for you to hate him. First up on day one was Sonny Dykes, TCU. He said last year brought in great transfers from the portal. I agree with that. And that has helped recruiting this year. That run they went on and the players they've gotten. Like I said, you get short interviews with ESPN on these coaches, so you don't really get much. But that's one thing that stuck out to me. Last year's success in the transfer portal has really helped his recruiting. They start September 2nd at Colorado against old Coach Dion. See how that one works out. Next up, new school, U of H, Dana Holgorsen. He came up onto the ESPN stage. He said finding a quarterback was his priority. Said a lot of kids that turned down U of H in the past are now coming back since they've joined the Big 12. And Gus Malzahn of Central Florida said the same thing. And I can see it. I mean, you want to play for a championship in a Power 5 school, comes the calling, more than likely probably not going to get a chance. But, or a group of 5, not Power 5, a group of 5 school comes a calling. Yeah, it's a nice place, but you're probably not going to win a championship. I mean, I'm not saying it's not going to happen. Cincinnati, I mean, they made a pretty good run at that, but But so yeah, he says kids that turned down U of H in the past, they're starting to come back now. Um, 15 bowls in the last 8 seasons, U of H. They've really come on a lot these last several years. He went and visited Georgia and see how they did things there over in Athens, and he says they are on a whole other level than the rest of the country. He was really impressed with the way they did things, their facilities, and all that. So he's like, Georgia's way out here, and the rest of the country's right here. So anyway, I thought that was pretty interesting. Next up was Kansas's Lance Leopold. He learned the team brought in his team last year bought into his way of doing things and his culture last year during the West Virginia and Houston games. He loves his offense, thinks defense will be better. Going from a 3-4 defense to a 4-3 defense, he says that took longer than he expected, but they're starting to really gel on that end. Kansas, he said, is working on improving facility improvements and renovations, which Memorial Stadium that probably does need to be renovated. I mean, it's kind of pretty old. I don't know what all they done to it. I don't know if they got luxury suites or what, but probably needs a little work. And have you ever looked at Kansas's Memorial Stadium on like Google Earth or something? The cool thing is, Kansas, University of Kansas, it's like a neighborhood around it. So, I mean, there's people out there that walk out their front door and get their mail and look to the left and boom, Memorial Stadium, which being a college football fan, that'd be pretty cool to walk out of your house down the sidewalk and see the college football stadium right there. So look it up on Google Earth if you have nothing to do. So more kids are wanting to chance to come to Kansas now and play ever before. I agree because they've gotten better than they were. Remember the Mark Bangino years? They were good. Then they kind of went down. But now Lance Leopold, see what he can do in the next couple of years. Next up was Baylor, Dave Aranda. He said 2 hard lessons learned last year. You can't change people, and you've got to use the transfer portal. He said they did not use the transfer portal as much as they should have last year. Kind of showed when you watched the way they played. He's been trying to manage players better and coming to grips with hard truths. He said before, he's learned you got to tell kids, hey, you're good, but this guy's better, and if you don't step it up, he's going to start and you're not. He said he had a hard time telling players that in the past, but he's starting to really do that now. He's discovered hard truths are the best way to go. Next up, Mike Gundy never disappoints, Oklahoma State. Some wasted time there on the ESPN desk. They wanted to ask him about his hair, and because he always had a mullet in the past, and a few questions there at the end about his hair instead of his football team. I was like, geez, this is why we need to listen to these people out here in the audience ask questions, but I don't know. Says they are lucky to have great players and great coaches over the years. It's a real big challenge to keep all that together with the NIL and transfer portal. He's not going to call plays. His offensive coordinator is. He said those 18-hour days were killing him, so he's taking a step back. He's just going to be the coach, and somebody else is going to call the plays. Very happy with his quarterback room. When they put it on the screen, I think there's 3 of them up there that they put on the screen that he's real happy with. Rush game does need work. He says the rushing game does need some work. Next up was Sark from Texas, Sarkisian. Says he's learned how to manage all the media hype, at the beginning of the year when all the media tells us Texas is back. And then at the end of the season, we realize they're not. He says he's learned how to manage all that. He's proud of the recruiting they have done. Says they have quality depth and competition all over the chart. He tells guys on the depth chart, don't worry about the guy in front of you. Worry about you, which is good advice. And that could be for anything in life, work, whatever. That's good advice for anything in life. Don't worry about this other person. Worry about yourself. A lot more people in the world minding their own business. We wouldn't be having a lot of problems that we do. Worry about yourself and not about the other person. He's happy with his offensive line unit and defensive line unit. Knows they have to learn how to finish games. If I remember right, there's 3 or 4 of them. They had a lead and they lost them. So yeah, they learn how to finish games. That's what the Longhorns need to do. Another guy I was really impressed with BYU coming into the Big 12. their coach, Kalani Sitake, I think that's how you say it. Really impressed with that guy. Nice guy, good demeanor, good character. Had a great personality. I never really paid much attention to BYU, but if I like a coach, I'm going to follow their team, and I'm going to follow BYU this year because of him. Go listen to his interviews. He's just like a laid back, down to earth. Looks like a really nice guy. Unless you screw up on the football field, he might yell at you. But anyway, big energy at the school and fan base because they joined the Big 12. Very impressed with Big 12 fan base over the last few years, he said. Says they have a strong running game, good offensive line. Get this. And he's taken them to 6 bowl games in his first 7 seasons. So he's a good coach. They may have the toughest schedule, especially in the Big 12, but you might even argue they may have the worst schedule, not the worst, but hardest schedule in all of the country. Listen to this. BYU this year goes to Arkansas, goes to Kentucky, or not Kentucky, goes to Kansas. They've improved. Goes to TCU, goes to UT, goes to West Virginia, and goes to Oklahoma State. All this year. 6 tough games away. So they're going to have the work cut out for them this year, in the first year in the Big 12. All right, so day 2 comes around. First coach up was K-State's Chris Kleiman. He says, we're just going to continue building. We have to put last year's success in the rearview mirror. Smart advice. You can't just keep looking back. Our best leaders are returning. He's happy about that. Deep running back room. The guy that left was Vaughn that left. I think that was his name. Real good running back. He says the guys behind him are great. So he's not really worried about the running back game. Defensive front 7 is good. Secondary needs a little shaping up, he said. He learned you're going to build a good team with 3rd, 4th, and 5th year guys. Incoming freshmen that are studs in high school, and even some sophomores. Yeah, you can get some good players there, but your 3rd, 4th, and 5th year guys, that's what's going to make a team. So that was what he had to say. Next up, another new school, UCF, Central Florida, Gus Malzahn. I've always liked Gus Malzahn. I always thought he got a raw deal at Auburn, but what are you going to do? He said recruiting in Central Florida is very good, but joining the Big 12 has made it even better because all those great Florida kids who are going to go to Miami, Florida, Florida State, now they're considering Central Florida, especially with the success they've had in the last few years. So he's getting some of those kids now over there. Loves his quarterback play and his leadership from Plumlee. He's coming back. Loves his defensive front. Should be much improved than they were from last year. He says we have quality depth on both sides of the ball. So Central Florida will be something to watch for this year. Next up, Texas Tech, Joey McGuire. Yeah, Joey McGuire. Last year he said they accomplished some things, but fell short on some things. When his players enter the building, he wants that to be the best part of their day, which makes sense. You want them to be happy. You don't want to be down and in dumps when they come to practice. Wants his team to continue to grow. He says they've been growing really well the last several months. He wants that to continue. Loves going for it on 4th down. They're 63% of the time. Last year they went for it on 4th down. So that tells you he loves it. And they even won some games because of that. Which game? He said they shouldn't have gone for it. It was either against Kansas State or TCU because they lost that game. But they did go for it and 1 or 2 times at the end and beat Texas. So live by the sword, die by the sword, I guess is what he's saying. Oh, here it is. Yeah, help them beat Texas, but help them lose to TCU going on 4th down. So anyway. Offensive line is better this year. His roster is deep on both sides. One thing he mentioned, he's an ordained minister. He's done 2 weddings and he's doing another one coming up. So if you're in Lubbock and you want to get married real quick, go talk to Coach Joey McGuire. He can probably marry you. Next up, another new school, Cincinnati, with new coach Scott Satterfield. Fickle. He took off to Wisconsin. Interesting to see how he does. He says team's effort and attitude is great. Wants a balanced and fast tempo offense, which I think most schools want these days. Defensive front seven is really, really good, he says. Next up was West Virginia's Neil Brown. Well, West Virginia, man, remember one time they were a damn good team under Don Nehlen, and Rich Rodriguez had success there. Dana Holgerson had some success there, and now they just kind of, let's be honest, they've kind of fallen flat a little bit. He says defense must get better. Must get better. That was a problem last year. Another problem they had that he says needs to get better. Offense must eliminate mistakes, penalties, and turnovers. He says the quarterback battle is growing between Marchial, I think that's his name, Marchial, and Green. He says those two are going to be battling it out here in a few weeks in fall camp. Roster management is very tough, he says, nowadays with the transfer portal, I can imagine, and the NIL, I can imagine. Probably every coach feels that way. So he tries to do whatever it takes to build a relationship with the player so they won't leave, and try to keep them. Get this. Their first game, West Virginia's first game, is against Penn State. Their third game is against Pittsburgh, backyard brawl. Fifth game against TCU. Man, the first 5 weeks, that's 3 tough games. And, of course, they got 1 or 2 others in there. Really only a mistake away from losing a game. So, man, it's going to be interesting what their record is after that fifth week against TCU, because those are 3 tough ones right off the bat. Iowa State, Matt Campbell was next. I like Matt Campbell. He's a good guy. He says we need to forget last season and grow. Need good quarterback play following Brock Purdy. Deep tight end group. He loves his tight end group. Getting running back group back and healthy. They had some injuries last year. I remember that in their running back class. He says we need to get turnovers under control this year, which they do. They turned the ball over a lot last year. And then last but not least, Oklahoma's Brent Venables. He was the last coach there at Big 12 Media Days. He says we must be efficient in everything we do. We were horrible in the fourth quarter last year. We've got to get better. And if I remember right, they lost quite a few games in the fourth quarter. Need to get turnovers and penalties cleaned up. I agree there. Need to build our program towards longevity. Expects quarterback play to be better, but needs to be more consistent. Freshman quarterback Arnold, he said he had an excellent spring camp. He really, really likes what he saw. Defense needs to improve, especially the run defense. He says the run defense is terrible. It needs to improve. So that was your coaches for the Big 12 Media Days. So this week, start tomorrow, SEC Media Days, Monday through Thursday. Always love the SEC Media Days. Those are always great. Like I said, you get them at the desk with the analysts, and you get to listen to them answer questions from the press out there in the audience. They don't do the one-sided thing like Big 12 does. Pac-12 Media Days on Friday. I watched Pac-12 Media Days last year, and I don't remember. I just remember the Pac-12 commissioner, whatever his name is, I forgot. He was up there and made a statement. He says, okay, now I'll answer questions. And you got 2 other guys up there with him. I'm like, are you trying to hide some behind other people or what? But then they went, I remember they talked to all the coaches, and it was okay. It wasn't as good as SEC or Big Ten, but yeah. Let me see. Also this week, Tuesday and Thursday, ACC Media Days. They will be doing their Media Days. And then next week, Wednesday and Thursday, Big Ten will do theirs. I'm guessing from Lucas Oil Stadium. Is that they call it in Indianapolis still? I guess that's probably where they're going to do it from. That's where they've done it from the last few years. That is it. We'll be back sometime this week to go over what's being said at SEC. And SEC and ACC, those are going to be hard because they're all the same days. At least 2 of the days they are. So hopefully I get to break all that down, not miss anything. But Maybe I'll have the one on TV and one on the iPad. I don't know. Anyway, hey, enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Stay busy this week so the week goes by fast. Tomorrow's Monday. It sucks, but happens every week, every year of our life. What we can do. Anyway, y'all be safe. We'll see you next time.